All right, peace and Black Power family. This is Jade Arundel, aka Lioness Crowned, your revolutionary, unapologetically Black African host right here at flynubianqueen.com, the network for melanated women and men like you. So you all know that the election is coming up. This is a big topic. Everyone's talking about the election, Joe Biden, Donald J. Trump. I call him the Antichrist 45, some of y'all's president, right? All of this stuff is happening at the same time. And the issue and the topic of the Black vote continues to come up. So today in the Lioness Den with us, we have an organization called the Black Business Empowerment Commission. We have Sister Zavilla Jackson Preston, Sister Regina Smith, and Mr. Brother Walter Edwards, who are here with us today. And they're going to tell us things that we should be thinking about as a community before going to the polls or before sending in those mail-in ballots. So you all can unmute yourselves, and I want to welcome you all into the Lioness Den, and I want to welcome in our subscribers. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the notification bell, and make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. How are you all doing today?
Great,
Wow.
thank
you.
Excellent, thank you.
Awesome. So thank you for being guests on my program, which is called the Lioness Den. And this is a Black First space. And so we talk about all things that are constructive related to Black empowerment. And so I like to bring on experts. You all are doing the work of organizing, making sure that we kind of get together as a Black community and have a really focused Black business agenda. I would like for Ms. Zavilla, could you please tell us about BBEC, the BBEC Commission, and the work that you all are doing?
Hi. First, let me say thank you very much for inviting us here today to talk about the commission. The commission was really founded by a group of people in New York City. It comes out of the work of Black businesses in New York City that was struggling against mayoralty and a structure that had a lockdown on Black people being able to do business in New York City with the city of New York City. We can't talk about the BBC without mentioning first that Black people in New York City are 22% of the population. Prior to COVID, we were about depending on what statistic you looked at, 2 to 3% of the businesses, and doing probably 0.01% business with the city itself. And so with those dire statistics, looking at Harlem Business Alliance and others focused on Black business empowerment, in New York City, we began to talk and reach out to government agencies to say, why is it that Black people cannot do business in New York City? The natural next step was to say, if this is the case in New York City, where it's supposed to be one of the most liberal bastions across the nation, usually Black people are in the same predicament wherever we are. So we said, well, what would happen if we reached out across the nation of Black centers? We started out with a list of what we considered Black cities where there were a significant number of Black people. And who knew? It was the same, talking to people in Missouri, you talk to people in Illinois and Chicago, you talk to people in LA, you go to Texas, everyone is struggling against policies and structures that basically barred Black people.
I think Sister Zavilla's camera froze, or
from being able to create. I see myself moving.
Can you please repeat the last sentence, because you froze for a few seconds? And as you do that, before you do that, rather, I want to welcome everyone into the broadcast today. Make sure you take a moment to hit the like button and hit the share button and greet our special guest from the Black Business Empowerment Commission. You can continue.
Yeah, so basically, as I said, that what we found was that Black people are in the same predicament all across the nation. And we felt that after being here for 400 years and looking at policies that focus on social issues, whether it was education, health, we know that these are disparities in our community, but we felt that there were many people out there that was focused on those disparities, and we didn't hear or see anyone focus on the economic health of our community and how we get to a point to create generational wealth. So that is how the commission was born, by just reaching out across the country and finding others who agreed with the thought process and others who were willing to join and work with us, that can work collectively to see what kind of policy agendas we could push for and what results.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So I'm going to show your website before we, start talking about this election and what you all think Black folks should really be considering before going to the polls. And in the meantime, I do want to welcome again our guest into the Lioness Den, Jade Arendelle, aka Lioness Crowned, your revolutionary, unapologetically Black African host at flynubianqueen.com, the network for melanated women and men like you. All right, so this is the website for the commission. And I'm going to maximize my screen here. And I love this quote that you all have at the top. It says, the Negro has been inflicted with 244 years of slavery and 100 years of segregation. And so with the legacy of these two unjust systems facing him, it is only natural that he is way behind. And he has been out of the mainstream of American life. He has been on the periphery of American life for all of these years. And it will be really a miracle that history hasn't seen for someone to start exactly 344 years behind in a race and get ahead or catch up unless something special is done. We've had special treatment in the negative sense for 344 years. Now we got to get special treatment in the positive sense in order to catch up and improve these lagging standards. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 1964. So this is the website, you all. I'm going to put this into the chat. It is bbecommission.org. That's bbecommission.org, bbecommission.org, and it stands for Black Business Empowerment Commission. So bbecommission.org. All right, and here is the policy agenda. And we're going to, I guess we can start here. Actually, we can talk about, if anyone wants to explain the policy agenda, and then we'll see if this correlates or not with the Black policy agendas or the lack thereof of these two presidential candidates.
Yeah, Jay, thank you. I know we're going to talk about the policy agenda, but I'd like for Regina to just, if she could for a moment, talk about the quote that you just read, because
Absolutely.
that quote is very important and very powerful. And so, Regina, if you could just speak to that quote.
Yes, I mean, we've heard a lot of quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King over the years. And this is one that isn't really well known and it isn't promoted. And so when we came across this quote, we said, well, this is exactly what we're talking about. And it is actually imperative that we focus on the fact that we are coming from so far behind, and that a tremendous amount of attention and resources need to be devoted to the economic empowerment of Black businesses. So that's why we put this quote up here, so that Black people can really fully understand where Dr. King was going to in the quest for Black economic empowerment.
Thank you so much for that. And honestly, like the part of this quote that resonated with me the most is like, yeah, we've gotten special treatment negatively for 344 years. And now it's time to shift that to make sure we get special treatment in the positive sense. And so, listen, for me, anything outside of policies that are going to tangibly benefit and directly benefit the descendants of the enslaved Africans and indigenous folk in this country, that for me, and like so many other Black people, especially younger Black people, that is the issue, within this presidential election. Right. So if we're talking about creating opportunities, we're talking about creating empowerment. It's like, how do we do that? How do we do that? And what attracts me about the Black Business Empowerment Commission is that you all have a very, very clear agenda that is laid out in terms of like what we should be doing business-wise as a community.
Yes, so thank you, Jade. So for us, I want to say that this BBEC policy agenda that is up on our website currently, I want to be clear that we're interested in a two-phase policy agenda. We've introduced this first phase, which is about engaging the American government on the local level, on the city, municipality level, the state and the federal government level. But we also have a plan to put forth an agenda that would be a do for self agenda, that we as Black people can pay our taxes. We know that we've been here. We know that we're owed something by this country. But if the powers that be just flat out can't understand that, and people who we have elected to represent us cannot put forth legislation and policies to address that issue, then my favorite quote from Tony Brown, people who remember Tony Brown's journal, he used to say, so folks, you go in the building and you go press the button for the elevator, and there's a sign that says the elevator is broke. Do you stand there and keep staring at the elevator, or do you start to say, where are the stairs?
Could you repeat that, please? For some reason, you just broke up in the last like 10 seconds.
Yes, so Tony Brown on his show, he was famous for saying a quote about, you go in a building and you go there to press the button for the elevator, and you see a sign that says the elevator is broken. Do you stand there and keep staring at the elevator, or do you look for the staircase? So in terms of us looking for the staircase, part two would be for us to put forth a do for self policy agenda, that the millions and billions of dollars that we have as disposable income as Black people in this country, if we redirected just a fraction of those dollars, that we as a community would be in a better position to do for ourselves and to nurture and grow Black-owned businesses. So with that, policy agenda on the website currently, as I said, is a phase 1 policy agenda. It has 5 points. The core of our points rests with what we call master no bid single source contract, which is basically
what's it called? Sorry.
Master no bid single source contract. And so people who are familiar with doing business with different government entities may think about this as a no bid contract as a single source. But what we're saying is that we would like for the American government to put on deposit with the Black Business Empowerment Commission and those who are aligned with us, whether they're banking institutions or CDFIs, that you put this money on deposit for Black people, Black businesses to do business with the federal government, city governments, and state governments. So at each level, they would be asked to put on deposit. So let's say the government wanted to buy 100,000 bowls of toilet tissue. The commission would look across the country for Black businesses that could fill that order and supply that to government. And then they would be paid out of this pot of money that the government would put on deposit as a single source contract.
Okay.
So that's the notion, that we have Black people across the country that can provide goods and services, but as I said, they get locked out of procurement processes across the board. And so this becomes a sole vehicle for Black businesses to do business. So there's no more of this, did you call this person? Did you sign up on this list or that list? But through the commission, we would facilitate the procurement of those goods and services from government entities with strictly Black-owned businesses. So that's the first tenet in our policy agenda. And also, if you read our policy agenda, you'll notice that it's a 20-year plan, that we're not thinking short-term, but we are really about trying to create generational wealth. And we believe that through a 20-year plan and process, that we can begin to create a structure for that to happen, and a vehicle that will facilitate that kind of economic movement within our community. And so the next tenet, Regina, I think you would speak to back office technical assistance and support.
Yes, so as the executive director of the Harlem Business Alliance for over the last 15 years or so, what we have experienced in servicing our clients, Black entrepreneurs, is that they need a deep level and intensive level of back office support, technical assistance, and real talk, okay, in order to move their businesses from one stage of development to another. And this needs to be provided by people who actually care about them and really are interested in seeing them thrive expand their businesses, and turn around and hire Black people. So we understand how important Black businesses are to the economic well-being of our communities. And so Walter Edwards, my chairman, has spoken about for decades the need for us to be able to provide back office technical support to Black entrepreneurs because culture does indeed matter. So, and we've also found that there have been attempts by the city government, local government, to provide these services through their various agencies, and it doesn't work. Because for the most part, their employees see this type of work as a job. We consider it a mission. So our business specialists have worked with our clients on the weekend, in the evening, you know, on an as-need basis. I mean, we just don't drop them at the end of the day because we know that they have needs and those needs need to be met. So this portion of the agenda, we talk about designating 500 million per year over a 20-year period for locally based Black communities that have been certified by the BBEC, that have deep ties to the community in providing these types of services, marketing, finance, strategic planning, you name it, to Black businesses that are certified as Black businesses, that these funds be made available because it is absolutely critical that our entrepreneurs receive all the training and assistance and the back office support that they need to create these businesses. The next item on our agenda is capital access. Of course, everyone knows in order to start the business, you need some money. And oftentimes, we don't have family members who can provide us with financial support and help us launch our businesses. So we need to be able to go to an institution, a financial institution or a CDFI that is Black owned or minimally Black led and is absolutely dedicated to the mission of Black economic empowerment, the creation, the sustainability, and the growth of Black owned businesses where those entrepreneurs turn around and hire Black people. So this is another important part of our agenda. Funds absolutely must be deposited in these financial institutions, in these CDFIs. Zavilla, I'll turn it back over to you for the next point.
Yeah. So one of the most important things Regina said was Black businesses. So when you look across the nation, you look at the federal government, we see these designations where people talk about MWBE, people use the words minority, diversity, small business, rural. And what we believe here at the commission is that none of that equals Black. If you're not saying the word Black, it's not Black. So again, when you're in New York City and you talk about quote unquote diversity or who's doing business with New York City, they'll tell you that they're meeting their metrics with minority businesses in terms of procurement.
Yes. Oh, we lost you. You paused for just a moment.
So I'll jump in here. Okay, so I can finish the thought. So yes, Black people
with city government, but
oh, you Paul, you're freezing for some reason, Sister Zavilla.
Okay.
Move from where you are. You may be too close to your computer.
Okay. Is that better? Am I moving now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we believe that we should have a different designation, and we're saying to Black people, we don't want to play the game anymore about MWBE, minority, diversity, because again, none of that equals Black. So at the commission, we're looking to set up a different kind of certification. We'd like to certify businesses as Black business enterprises, which would be a totally different designation, and that should be separate and apart from any other designation that any government entity is working with. And so in order to do and set up that registry, we're looking for a $10 million grant from the federal government to create this registry so that it can be maintained for a 10-year period. And for after that 10-year period, for statistics to be done to see how effective it was for Black businesses, Black business enterprises, and doing business with government entities to see how they fared at the end of that period versus what we know we've been doing for the past 20 or 30 years has not resulted in good results for the Black community. And then when we move on to BBE growth, mentorship, and workforce development, we're saying that it's not enough to train our people to go and get a job, that we're interested again in creating generational wealth. And that means that we have to be grooming, nurturing, and developing entrepreneurs within our community, that there are many emerging technologies, emerging fields, and that Black people again appear to be getting left behind. Every time there's a new sector that emerges that can create billionaires in 10 or 20 years, Black people are nowhere on the scene. And we know that we have the intellect, we know that we have the capacity within our community, and that again, we want to create vehicles in our young kids from the age of 3, 4, and 5 as they come up, that they can see themselves owning multinational companies. And we are very clear in doing so that we believe in a philosophy of PhD, that we want to purchase Black, hire Black, and deposit Black. And that in every venture that we put ourselves in, we are very conscious of what we call leakage, that it's not enough to just look superficially or on the surface as to what is created, but we have to look for unintended consequences 20 years, 50 years out, because we cannot, as a community, keep fighting the same fight. You can't have every generation starting at zero with the same fight. So we want to build a legacy of success that we can leave for future generations. There was an article published last year that said that by 2053, potentially the Black community will have zero wealth. Believe that, zero wealth. And so that is what motivates each of us every day, because we have grandchildren, we can see the future. And for the commission, we believe that that's unacceptable. That's not even a debate for us. We do everything in our power to ensure that we as a community can leave more than zero wealth to future generations by 2053.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that overview of the agenda. And if you're tuning into the Lioness Den right now, we're here with the members of the Black Business Empowerment Commission, and you can definitely follow their work and their website at bbecommission.org. I've put it in the chat already. So if you all see me looking this way, it's because I'm, definitely looking at the chat and what folks are putting in. But it's bbecommission.org, bbecommission.org. I'm going to stop the screen share right now, and we'll get back to it to talk about a different segment of the website. So the plan that BBEC has put out is very, very specific and ensures that Black folk will be represented and that businesses will be sustainable, that they can grow, and that we do get out of this hump of every Black generation, it seems like, starting over from zero, starting over from scratch. And I cannot fathom what a world with this country would look like, or our community would look like in 2053 if things are going economically the same way that they've been going, if we're on that same trajectory and don't change it. Now, one of the things that as a consultant and as a Black business owner, I remember going into to do the inquiry workshop thing for the women and minority owned business registration. And when I went in, I saw quote unquote women and minorities, but I saw a whole lot of white men in there, right? I saw they'll find a Black person or someone who is considered to be a minority. I don't just self-describe as a minority. There's nothing minor about me or about Black people, but you would have a lot of white folks, finding non-white business partners or women to partner with to get these benefits. And I was like, wow, so this really is there are ways in which a policy such as that, while it may sound or the intention behind it is for it to be equitable, nobody's looking out for Black folk, unless we as Black folk look out for Black folk. I wanted to know, what did you think about that, that statement or my observation, Mr. Edwards?
Well, unapologetically Black, you and I. I say that we've been hoodwinked. I'm falling out with that. We've been bamboozled. And that's what we are trying to, get away from. We recognize all of that, and we didn't write those programs. And so if we didn't write them, they cannot be for us. I would like to sort of go into the political side that you spoke about, because I remember President from Roosevelt to today. And we only had one president that had an unapologetically Black economics program, and that was Richard Nixon. And he made more Black millionaires than any president, and actually had the Black entrepreneur program. Look it up. It was there. That's what caused him his problems. Okay. And we have millionaires still here that came out of that program. Now, there hasn't been another Black program. So how do we move forward? And why should we keep voting for Democrats or Republicans, really, if we don't have a ask from them, something that they have to do for us? We went to Richard Nixon with that ask, and he delivered. We have not had another ask to go to any of these presidents with that they have accepted. We have sent something to the Congressional Black Caucus. I have not heard back from them yet as to whether they're going to consider it. But we have a problem when we have electeds that are social workers. They know nothing about economic development. You cannot show me one of the congressional people that sat on the Economic Development Committee. Okay, we are the last to find out what's coming down the pike. By the time it gets down, there's so little left, and they have put so many different rules and regulations to it hurt us instead of helping us. We would be better off just going by ourselves. I recommend that we get together. It might be too late for this election, but that we get together and forget about Republican or Democrat and be Black. And if the Democrats want our vote, which they say that we have delivered the vote to them to make them presidents and governors, and you can't show me where we benefited from it. You know, if you deliver this much, then you should benefit. Where is our benefits? Who received payment for it? Somebody got something, but the people in general did not get it. And so therefore we need to come together and go to them with a demand. This is what we have to have. You Republican, if you say you're going to deliver it, you got our vote. If you Democrats say you're going to deliver it, you got our vote. But we are not owned by any of you. We are not slaves. We are free people, okay? And we're able to practice on our own. But we have to have people that think like that representing us in office. And so many does not. So many of our electeds see it as a lifetime job. They do not speak to us in general. I happened to be in a room with Adam Clayton Powers some years ago, where he said something that has stuck with me, and I have not heard another elected official say anything like this. He said that we had to take care of the winos because the winos was part of his community. They was his people. Okay, so you couldn't take care of the people at the top and not take care of the people at the bottom. You know, I hear the Congress and the senators speaking about their tax dollars going to us and what's happening with them. I say to them that it's not their tax dollars. And you can prove it with your president today who pays no taxes. We pay taxes and he don't. It's our tax dollars. So give them back to us to use them in the way that we see fit, not as you describe to us. So this is what we are about, making certain that people understand that we have a mind. Anytime that you give us a level playing field, we exceed what you expect from us. So don't try to make us feel bad. Give us what is ours, and we will go for ourselves. We don't need you telling us who we are. We know who we are. And that's where we are coming from with the BBEC. wake our people up to understand what this thing is about and how we have to move it to get what is right for the hour.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Listen, if you're just tuning in, we are doing an interview with the Black Business Empowerment Commission. Make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. Also, if you are interested in joining our team at Fly Nubian Queen, make sure you send us an email to producer@flynubianmedia.com. That's producer@flynubianmedia.com. And be sure to check out our shop at shopfnq.com. That's shopfnq.com. We have plenty of products that you all can support. You want to buy Black, as we should be doing every day. So Mr. Walter Edwards just gave us, a lot of context around like the why, like politically. What I don't understand is a millennial, someone who was born in 1984, is like, why is it taking us so long to organize as a community around Black economic empowerment as a platform and as an agenda, and to actually push it through?
I will tell you that we have not had a Black leader since this integration. They took all our leaders away from us, and they have named, we haven't chosen, they have named who they want to mislead us, not to lead us, to embarrass us, okay? So that we hate to go in a room because they have done something that was so terrible that we are embarrassed to go in the room behind them, okay? We have to now choose you young people that have the ability, have the heart to get up and speak your mind and back y'all and put you in position for the next 100 years. We got to start planning that way. You cannot show me one 6-month plan for our people, other than what maybe we put before the Congressional Black Caucus. Okay, we need a plan that is thought out for the years ahead with progress and people being held accountable to us, not people that's going reporting back to who they think it made them and is paying them. Okay, because they are being paid to mislead us, to miseducate us. Regina can really speak about the education system that is miseducating us. We are not being educated to do things to grow and become powerful as we should. So the whole concept of government for the people, by the people, is crazy the way that it's being used. And if you think not, listen to your president talk about he's putting 300 judges in place in the federal court system. So he's going to control the courts. But not one was Black. Okay, so we have to stop and wake up and start facing these facts and not running from them and acting like, okay, let me in the room, open the door, let me see what's in there. Oh, I'm happy. No, I'm not happy. I don't care if I don't ever go in the room if my people are not there. What am I doing there by myself? Okay, so that's
Yeah, thank you for that. And listen, and I want to get everyone's perspective on the panel about this in relation to this election. If we can call it, is it really an election? I don't know what's going on, honestly, because it just really seems like a circus in 2020. But before I say that, I want everyone to take a moment to like and share this broadcast, and remember to go over and sign up for the mailing list over at bbecommission.org. That's bbecommission.org. So look, this actress named Amanda Seales made a post immediately after the debate. And I can just kind of share, actually, no, I'm not promoting her, so I'm not going to share my screen. So this is a woman, a Black woman, right? I think she's foreign born or maybe a first generation. She's from the Caribbean. And after the debate that Joe Biden and whom I call 45 the Antichrist they had a debate last week, Amanda Seals put up a post on Instagram. It reads, "About last night, I don't want to hear no more SHIT about reparations, Black agenda, Kamala Harris as the Attorney General, the 1994 crime bill. We got to get focused on the now. Get orange out of here. Hashtag vote for us." What do we say? And I'm just, this isn't really about this one person, Amanda Seals, but there are a lot of Black folks who are going to the polls or filling out their mail-in ballots with the same sentiment. We don't care about reparations right now. The Black agenda is not important. Criticisms about Kamala Harris's or Joe Biden's anti-Black racist policies or past political careers. We got to get out and go to the polls and vote for Donald Trump. Vote against Donald Trump no matter what. What do you all think about that mindset that many of our brothers and sisters do have right now, and that's being pushed, I would say, by liberals and the Democratic Party really, really heavily?
Sibylla, you're good at that.
I have very strong views on this kind of thing, and even separate and apart from the commission. I'm not prepared. People say, and the other thing people say is, "Oh, your ancestors died for you to have this vote. You should use it." And my response is always that, yes, my ancestors died, and that's why it's so valuable to me. And I don't intend to give it away to anyone for any reason. And so this notion of the lesser of two evils and one devil, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Black people have to stand strong with our interests, period. And so even we have to read, when you look at the Biden plan, he talks about a lot about rural America. And so when I read words like that, because I'm really focused on unintended consequences, it prompts me to go look at the statistical data or what are the definitions for words like that. Who knew rural America is 78% white?
Absolutely. So, I would go as far as to say as the proverbial or stereotypical poor white trash. That is indicative of rural America. But anyway, I digress.
When you have them standing next to Clybourne and they're talking about Black farmers, and then the next thing you hear is rural America, that's code to Black people. Oh, we're talking about Black people, Black farmers. But that's not who they're talking about, right? So whether it's the Democrat or the Republican, they're going to look out for their interests. And any Black person born and raised in America who is a descendant of this system of chattel slavery, if you think for 1 minute that the Republican or the Democrat is going to operate in your interests, I have a bridge to sell you. So we need to be fixed and fixated on our interests. And as Mr. Walters said, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, the BBEC has sent our policy agenda to both the Republicans and the Democrats. And if it's dead on arrival, then why are we waking up in the morning running to the poll to vote for either of them? So whether it's down ballot races, whether it's finding dynamic young people in our communities to run on local levels and spaces that affect our lives on a daily basis, and helping them to get into these positions, whether it's on school boards, whether it's a local city council, that maybe that's where we should be spending our energy rather than door knocking and canvassing for a presidential candidate that has no intention on focusing on the economic health of the Black community. You'll hear them every day talk about healthcare disparities. Oh, Black people have diabetes, they drink too much soda, let's make sure they don't drink soda. But when you say to them, Black businesses are dying on the vine, that Black people cannot create generational wealth in this country, they go, oh, I can't focus on Black people, I have to do for all people. So it's just a game. And we have to stop, as Mr. Walters said again, being bamboozled. And we have to wake up to what this game is. And we have to say we're not playing it. And if we do play it, we're going to reset it on our own terms. And so I believe that that's what a lot of in the street is today. We know that some of it is not us, but the people in the street who are us and representative of our community, we believe that this is what they're saying. But we have to begin to speak as one voice, and we have to focus on the economic health of the Black community. We must. The other things, there are 20 people out there focused on incarceration, focused on, policing of our community. We have to have a voice that speaks to the economic health of our community. I can't say that enough.
And it can be a focus on, again, minorities, and we spoke about this, but I think we really need to hammer this particular point on the head, because when they talk about minorities and women-owned business initiatives, as you found, white women are the primary beneficiaries. And Black people tend to believe that when there are discussions about progress for minorities, that Black people are actually included in that discussion, and that's not the case. So we really need to be real clear. And listen, Jade, I applaud you. I just think that you're absolutely fabulous. And we support, first of all, we as myself as an older Black woman who is beyond angry, I'm furious. And I'm sick of the Democrats, I'm sick of the Republicans. And because when I look out here and I see what the legacy that my grandson may encounter, it's just absolutely inexcusable. So whenever we talk specifically about Black people. We're not talking about diversity and inclusion. They've been having discussions and conversations and conferences for the last, 20 years or so. And at the end of the day, they're not hiring Black people in Silicon Valley. We're not getting any of those jobs, and they still continue to have these conversations. So no, minorities may do well, but please be clear, it's other minorities who basically weren't involved in our struggle. They have benefited from our struggle. Immigrants have come over here and have benefited from our struggle. White women are benefiting from our struggle. Asians are benefiting from our struggle. Everybody else, and they really, frankly, don't give a damn about whether or not Black people get into good schools, whether or not we receive good high quality educations, whether or not we get good medical care. What we saw happen to Black people here in New York City during the pandemic was criminal. It was criminal. They didn't even give any focus. They didn't focus on Black people until after the general population was taken care of. Everyone else but us.
Excuse me, but they were arresting Black people for violating social distancing policies, that part. But giving out masks to white folks uptown, though.
Yes.
And then social workers were opening up ACS cases on Black parents who didn't pick up laptops or if their kids didn't log in for social distancing. So, that's more of that, special negative treatment, that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about earlier on. In that quote that we read. Sorry to cut you. I just wanted to make sure I inserted that part.
Yeah, but even going back to the political accountability piece, this country wants to pay attention to harm done by everyone. We can go to Kosovo, we can go all over the world and want to address harm done to people. And then Kamala Harris can come up putting Black mothers in jail because their kid didn't go to school today. And you tell Black people, oh, don't worry about that. It's okay. No, we need to address people's record, particularly when they've been in public service prior to running for the highest office in the land, and they should be judged by that record. And so don't come to Black people and tell us, oh, just be quiet, don't worry about it. We've been quiet. Are we going to quietly go to the oven? Is that where we are as Black people? Just be quiet? So absolutely not. We need to be vocal and more vocal every other day.
Absolutely. And Miss Regina, that Joe Crime Bill Biden said, if you don't vote for him, you ain't Black.
The audacity. And when we look at how many Black men and women are still incarcerated in this country, a lot of them coming out of the war on drugs and for minor offenses. And you look at the people who perpetrated that, who passed those laws, the Clintons, the Bidens, even Black folks who co-signed that. And then the only thing that they have to say today is, I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? You're sorry? Why haven't they all been why haven't they been freed? That's number one, and compensated for the time that they spent in prison and put on a course to a positive future. There has been no discussion about repairing the incredible harm that has been perpetrated on Black people for centuries. No discussion about it. So I'm sick and tired of Black people talking about they sick and tired about us talking about what we should have and what we should have gotten and what we absolutely need to have moving forward. So, sister, you stay strong. I want everyone who listens to this broadcast to be real clear and stay strong. Yes, we're unapologetically Black. Don't be afraid to claim your Blackness. And then when you get into a position and you're fighting for it, don't disperse your energy by fighting for everyone else. When you're in a plane and you know the plane is in trouble, they tell you to put the mask over your face first. We as Black people have to save ourselves first. We have to tend to our families. We have to tend to our community. We absolutely must focus on ourselves right now. We're in quicksand. Wake up, Black people.
Okay, I'm going to come in because I love both of these two ladies. And Jade, look like I'm going to have to adopt you.
Yes, sir.
But we have to realize I come from an age older than all of y'all. And I've seen our people die trying to vote. So voting is a right, it's powerful, but you have to know how to vote, how to use your vote. I've been in the polls when there was no one I really wanted to vote for, but I knew that that vote was important. So I went in and didn't look at who I was voting. I just punched something. It didn't matter because it wasn't anybody there for me. But we're going to look up if we're not careful, and they're going to have it back to where it was once before, that if you don't own property, you won't be able to vote. Then they really have you where they want you. So we need to go vote. I don't care if it's one person there that you know, vote for that one person, but give that one person a message also that you voted for them to do something, okay? We can't vote for them and then back up and act like they know what size shoes we wear, what our medical condition is. We have to go to them and let them know. Not only that, we have to know what they are empowered to do in that office that they are holding. Okay, if we don't know what they can do, then what do we go to them with? You know, we have to get educated to the power of the office and the vote. And I say vote, but vote for the dog if you feel like it. Keep yourself there because they are counting you. And if you are not in the count, you're just going to be thrown off on the side and forgotten. So that's the only reason I say vote. Not that I'm happy with the person that I'm voting for, but you got to continue to own that vote. So go vote. Don't care how much it hurts. Vote.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that message, Mr. Walter. I do have my mail-in ballot. There are quite a number of judges. You know, I'm also I participate in the county committee, the Democratic County Committee in Brooklyn. And after this election, I am re-registering as an independent. I'm going to go in the footsteps that my father was, you know, he took, you know, back in the 60s where, you know, people thought he was crazy. He's like, oh, you're independent. Like, what is that? But I mean, I do vote. I never discourage. I never think that I agree in that we should never discourage people from going to the polls, from voting. And yes, we have to make informed decisions. I think that for me, the highest stakes candidates on the ballot that I have are the judges. Like, who is going to be elected to these courts, right? That's going to have all this power. We already know how the criminal injustice system affects our people, Black people. Who are these people? Who are our people going to be going in front of? What is their track record? How many people have they, you know, how many Black people have they arrested or worked out, you know, special considerations as they would non-Black folk within the court? So like, those are very, very high stakes things. And it's not just the presidents or these presidential candidates on the ballot, right? It's not just Joe Biden or, you know, Donald Trump on there. There are other folks on there, New York State Assembly people, the New York State Senator, right? Their names are on there as well. And then also, like, folks don't know about write-ins, even for like local commissions. I know in Washington, D.C., there are advisory neighborhood commissions and certain people who didn't make the ballot, and they're running campaigns now to be written in. So there are a lot of aspects of the political process that I know that we should really work to build Black empowerment, civic education, and political education around. The other thing too, on my experience in the work that I've been doing, is realizing how other groups and communities vote or abstain their vote. They abstain from the voting process in many ways, like when the county committee has to vote on certain things. Like I remember we had a special election last year, I want to say it was, and it was for an endorsement for public advocate of the state of New York. Jumaane Williams, ran for that. There were other folks who came up, but I remember seeing certain assembly districts that are predominantly white and Jewish, who completely sat down and abstained from endorsing any candidate if it didn't, push their agenda or their, what their community wanted, if they couldn't get behind the candidate. And I want to see more equity when it comes to the voting process, in that I don't see other racial groups being shamed the way that Black people are shamed in the voting process, right? So if we say, I don't think, like, I have this shirt on, right? It says, I vote for me. Am I going to fill out my ballot and send it in and vote for things on, other candidates after I make informed decisions about who to pick? Yes. Can I justify voting for Joe Crime Bill Biden or Donald J. Trump at this juncture when they don't have a concise agenda for Black people? No. Can I write someone in for president? Yeah, that'll probably be Dr. Claude Anderson, right?
Yeah, okay.
You can't
Good
say that.
choice.
So that's just where I am with it. But I'm not discounting or discrediting anything that's said, on the panel. I just think that, like, when it comes to the voting process, one thing that I'm invested in is building more political and civic engagement and conversations around this, especially for our young people. I've done quite a number of nonprofits focused on political science and civic engagement, and Black children are hugely underrepresented in these programs. So you have all of these children who are first generation or second generation Americans, many of them immigrants, and they're getting involved and getting excited about civics, voting, the process. I'm seeing more of a disparity in that sense educationally for Black children. So that's going to be my commitment to the community, especially like moving forward. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I shared that aspect. So, and I tell my audience all the time, I'm no way saying like, don't vote or don't register to vote. I've participated in so many voter registration initiatives, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm saying is make sure when you do use your vote, which is powerful, make sure you have some integrity and make sure you can be able to sleep at night with the choice that you made or the candidate that you picked.
Well, I thank you. And I support what you say. And for those who don't know, I remember when we had a Black Communist council person here in Manhattan, in Harlem. And he was good. He made others do things that they wouldn't have done because they didn't want him to be able to do it. Okay. So we have to stop just going for the okie doke, like I say, being bamboozled, confused. We have to start thinking out the process, what it is that we are doing, who we are doing it with. That's all. And stop letting people mislead us that look like us. Okay, everybody that look like us and come with the rhetoric is not of us. And all we have to do is see where they get their money from. And we'll know that they're not. Okay, so I thank you.
I think your point about Black people not being shamed, I mean, they always want to turn around and look at, what the Black turnout was. Well, Black men didn't turn out for the Democrats, at the same numbers, in the same numbers as Black women, but we shouldn't be shamed at all for our turnout, no matter how low it is. I mean, it's amazing that it is as high as it is. If Biden loses this election, the finger needs to be pointed at white women and it needs to be pointed at Latinos, many of whom don't see themselves as being people of color or being minorities, or, you know, they support the Republican agenda. And so that's another reason why we need to be clear about the Black agenda and what we need to do for ourselves.
Thank you. And I know that, you know, BBEC has a list of questions. And this will be the final thing we talk about today. I'm going to share my screen again. And as I'm doing that, I want you all to make sure you go over and check out the website, bbecommission.org. That's bbecommission.org. I also want to make sure you text the word Queens to 31996. That's Queens with an S to 31996. That way you'll be notified when we do go live. And also check out our programming at flynubianbusiness.com and flynubianmoney.com. And shout out to our moderators and your comments. I see your comments in the chat. All right, so this is a wonderful feature of the Black Business Empowerment Commission's website and also the work that they do, right? So look, these are some questions that are listed that we should ask, or that suggested that we ask in order to become a more informed voter. I'm going to go to the top of this page so folks can see what the top of the page looks like. This is a statement about the Census Project, but when you scroll down under this tab, political advocacy, questions to ask, it leads you here, okay? Would anyone like to take this part of the presentation? Close that.
Yeah, it's a two-part question list. Up top, you have a list that you can ask all candidates. So because we're focused on business creation and creating generational wealth, our primary question to all politicians, as Mr. Walters said, you have to understand what the politician can do in the role that they actually have, that they've been voted for. So our first question is, do they have, can they affect business creation as a public official? And so once you understand whether or not they can do that in the capacity that they're in, the next question is, what have they done to create businesses in general, and Black-owned businesses in particular? And so again, these questions are all focused on Black business empowerment. It goes to the MWBE programs across America, and it talks about what they and who they were designed to benefit initially, and the fact that Black people have not benefited from them. And so the last question is, if none, are you prepared to work with the historically harmed Black community to craft legislative policy or contract set-aside remedies to address the disparity? Because again, we cannot just give people our vote. They have to be able and willing to commit to delivering something back to us. And question 4 addresses the issue. Again, these are tied to our policy platform that we talked about initially. So question 4 addresses access to capital. Again, many of the capital programs are tied to legislative policies that come out of different government from different levels. And then we have a particular interest in marijuana legislation, because again, this is something that Black people were held accountable for in our communities that put them in jail, many people in jail for very low level crimes of possession of marijuana. And so as the marijuana industry emerges across the country and becomes legalized, who's going to benefit? You know, they're setting up white boys again to take over an emerging industry where billionaires will be made. And so we're looking for economic restorative justice, and that there should be provisions in legislation across the country that addresses and repairing harm to people who were set upon by biased policing in Black communities all across the country. And so then if you go down, these are questions specific for federal candidates. And so we're looking at HR 40. Many people think that this is a reparations bill to pay Black people something. HR 40 is not a reparations bill to pay Black people anything. HR 40 is simply a bill to assign a commission to investigate, if they decided to pay reparations, what could or should that look like. And so the fact that this has been sitting in Congress for so many years and has not been able to move, again, what are these people willing to deliver to the Black community? And so if minimally they can't even vote to set up a commission to discuss the issue, then Black people should be aware of that. And then we move on to, according to the census, there are 2.6 million Black people in America, and that 95% of these businesses are sole proprietorships, right, with no paid employees. So again, talking about business development, access to capital, and these things to help Black businesses to develop and to grow. And all of that ties back again to our policy agenda that we've put forth with the 20-year plan. The next one down, talk about affordable real estate and numbers of set-aside units and neighborhoods to mitigate displacement of Black people across the country, wherever we found that is happening through gentrification, whether it's in New York, Cleveland, Detroit, wherever Black people are, we're being displaced by gentrification. The Black community has been harmed since it arrived on the shores of America. The prison industrial complex is something that must be addressed. And so we think that what does that look like if Black people get into cybersecurity, which will be another emerging technology as we move forward. So we're really trying to think forward and to see what the landscape looks like, as we said, 20 years forward, and preparing a path that our grandchildren can walk down, hopefully with a little more ease and a little less struggle than we have had. But we do know that we are Black people in America, and I think that we will be struggling on these shores until the day that we die. But as the generation that is running the race at this moment, that we have to be able to run the best leg that we can run to hopefully allow the people who have to run the next leg, the Jades and the others, that the road will be made easier for them. So that's what we're focused on here. We encourage people to go to our website. We put forth a plethora of information. Some people say it's too much information, but we believe that Black people need to be informed. And so the information is there for those who wish to have it. And we encourage you to reach out to us. As Jade has said, there is a section on the website that encourages people to email us if they're interested in becoming involved in these activities that are focused on Black business empowerment in America. So again, go to the website, peruse it, find that button that says join us to get involved button. It's there. And so you can see contact us is on that page, forgive me. Jade, if you could go to the time is now on the left side, that one. And then participating states, become a supporter or organizer. And so you will be able to contact us there, and you can see the states that we have actively engaged where there's leadership in those states and people talking about the BBEC. So if your state is not represented, for sure, we'd like for you to reach out to us, but we are really building a movement that is focused on Black business empowerment. And we are here at the Black Business Empowerment Commission. So Jay, thank you so much for having us today.
Awesome. You're welcome. I'm going to stop my screen sharing so we can, so I can thank you all, Mr. Walter Edwards, Ms. Zavilla Jackson Preston, and Ms. Regina Smith. Thank you all for the work that you're doing at the Black Business Empowerment Commission. I would love to have you all again. I mean, listen, Black economics and our struggle for self-determination and autonomy, independence, financial freedom is an ongoing thing. And so we want to definitely bring you back into the Lioness Den, continue to talk about the work that you're doing, the things that are on the horizon, even after the election, because like we still gonna be Black. And unless somebody, unless we put pressure on getting policies that are going to empower us and create our own financial freedom as well, then there's so much to do, so much to talk about. So the whoever is president at this point, the issues in the Black community financially are still going to need to be solved. So I really want our audience and folks out there, the Black community at large, to really focus on that. Like, okay, so the day after the election, or, once the new president comes into office or gets sworn in or whatever, if it's the same old Antichrist, how is your Black life going to be different? What are we going to do to create economic freedom and empowerment? So thank you all again for joining us. I want to thank everyone in the chat, those who shared the broadcast and who tuned in, for all the questions and comments that I see you all put in there. We'll definitely make sure we continue to get the word out, and be sure to visit bbecommission.org. That's bbecommission.org. Also, the social media pages for the Black Business Empowerment Commission is BBE_commission on Instagram. I put this information into the chat already, y'all, so you have that. On Twitter, it's BBE Commission. That's BBE Commission on Twitter. Facebook is Black Business Empowerment Commission. Okay, Black Business Empowerment Commission on Facebook. Twitter is BBE Commission, and Instagram is BBE_commission. All of that information is in the chat, as well as the website. That's the most important part. I really want y'all to go over, because they've spent a lot of time and work and research, right? Putting an agenda together for us that, you know, we can get on board and look at the map, see if your state is represented, and then join. And that website again is bbecommission.org. So thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jade.
Of course, thank you. So I'm gonna sign off, and this is my sign off. This is what I say every time I end my show. I want to make sure you all visit our shop at shopfnq.com. That's shopfnq.com. Subscribe to Fly Nubian Queen on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to hit that notification bell, and check out our programming at flynubianbusiness.com and flynubianmoney.com. All right. This broadcast is ending, but so is global racism and white supremacy. We will and we must defeat this beast through fortitude, preparedness, and collectivism. And always remember that they stole us, they sold us, so they owe us. And until next time, family, peace and Black power.
Yes.
Black power.
Black power. All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Welcome, and thank you.